Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name's Luke, and I am excited to have back on the show, fresh from his victory, under 24 hours removed from getting a big win in Virginia, which is amateur rules, but the amateur rules are pro rules. Let's put our hands together for Travis the Mauler Long. Travis, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It was super exciting. I got to watch. Somebody was kind enough to put it up on Facebook, so I got to watch your fight, but you're not even 24 hours removed from a big win. I mentioned the fact that it was pro rules, even though you're an amateur. It was your second ever lifetime fight. Why don't you walk us through round by round? Because it ended up being a close decision. And so I'm sure you have a lot of feelings and emotions connected round by round. So take us through it.
Yeah, definitely. So, the guy came in the weigh-ins and he weighed in at 141.5, which the weigh-in weight was 140. So that kind of gave me a thought with my wrestling background. If a guy weighs in at 141.5 or he weighs the pound and a half over, he cut as much weight as possible. It's like if he cut 5 pounds and I'm like, or if he cut and was still 5 pounds over, then I'd be like, okay, he didn't really try. But no, yeah, me and the team had a plan. We knew he was going to come out first round very aggressive because of his weight cut. We figured he wasn't going to have a gas tank. So we talked and we were like, okay, yeah, he's going to come out aggressive, be ready. So round one kicks off. He comes out, I come out. We meet in the middle of the octagon. We trade some shots. It goes up against the cage, and he's pressuring into me. He's not really throwing much. I have my underhook sunk. I have his wrist, and kind of just trying to move around, trying to feel, and I throw some shots. Yeah, then we stand up and we strike a good bit, throw some leg kicks. We do go to the ground in the first round for a split second, which I believe I had top control, threw some more good strikes on him. Second round came in and we came up top. We were striking. I threw a leg kick, which dropped him. When I threw the leg kick, it dropped him. I followed up with a cross. I believe he ended up taking me down. Everything happened so fast. I haven't even watched the film back yet to really see what happened. But once we got in that second round, I started to feel more confident because I could see he was getting very tired. He was dropping his hands. He wasn't stepping how he was supposed to be stepping. When you fight, you got to watch everything: the eyes, the hands, and the feet. His footwork started to become sloppy. So when that happened, I just started to execute. I started to throw my combinations, which went very well for me. I was still throwing my leg kicks. I was starting to feel much more confident, but at the same time, still trying to control my breathing, still trying to be aware of what was going on. Third round came along, and when I hit him, he dropped down, and I level changed faster than him, got him by the legs, and made a big slam. But I landed on bottom. I rolled him, threw some shots, took control, and from there I just straight ground and pound, and that was the fight.
Well, I appreciate you giving us a round by round breakdown. It was a really great fight. Talk a little bit, something that stood out to me. You mentioned the ground and pound. Obviously, it's exciting because you're winning, that you're able to use elbows. I mean, it's full pro rules. I always find it interesting that Virginia's State Athletic Commission will literally say on the website that their amateur rule set are the pro rule set. So you're allowed all the things that we're used to in pro. So you're adjusting to a pro rule set very early, which is good. Did he seem either dazed or unconscious in the last 30 seconds? I watched it a couple times. He was sort of in like a all fours position. You were in a front headlock snap down position and he wasn't really defending. Do you think he was unconscious or just kind of waiting for the fight to be over?
So going into the fight, I did a lot of study and I found that he dealt with a rib injury in December.
Okay.
So I had that in my head. So when we got down and I got to his side, I threw a knee into the ribs, which I think really affected him. And after I took his back, I was just throwing hammer fist to his head. And I would say about the fight should have been stopped with about 15 seconds left because he had no control. He was just laying there. He wasn't defending. And I was on top. I was throwing rights, lefts, and came out to a front headlock. Threw a couple strikes from there. Was about to lock up the choke, and they stopped the fight. Called it split decision. It should have been a TKO. All respect to the guy. I hope he's okay. Hope his family's okay. But he did end up leaving on the stretcher.
Yeah.
He getting sent to the hospital, but prayers for him. I hope he is doing well. I did shoot him a message checking on him, seeing if he was doing well, but I feel like the fight should have been declared a TKO. I took the second and third round by far for sure.
Well, it's one of those things, obviously, the fact that he got medical care, I always say that this is so important why these are athletic competitions. Sure, there's a combat element, but there's doctors there. In his case, the video that I saw did show the fact that he did not come back for the announcing of who won or who lost, and the medical team's right there. And that's what you want. We've seen really bad leg breaks in MMA, and you always want good medical care. That's one of the reasons why these aren't street fights. But that's kind of why there's rules and people there. But to your point, it certainly seemed like that. Like I said, I rewatched the last 30 seconds, maybe close to 10 times. I was trying to see what the ref was looking for. Obviously, a ref makes the decision, but given how it ended and the fact that it very well could have been, or maybe should have been, stopped for safety, for fighter safety, and the fact that he wasn't defending himself at all, probably, as you pointed out, he was probably hurting in his ribs, and we all know that that's where your brain goes. When you're hurt to the body, your brain shuts down. If you ever get hit in the liver or hit below the belt, if you're a guy, or it kind of shuts you down. But how concerned were you? Because for people that don't know, when it's a split decision, the way it always is read, and this is kind of the way it's read to make it more exciting, is they'll always read red corners, name, points, blue corners, names, points. That way people realize, oh, it's going to be a split decision. When they started reading it and that you realized it was going to be a split decision, how concerned were you? Like, you had almost stopped him 20 seconds before that, and it could have potentially on scorecards gone the other way. So what do you think about that, and how worried were you when they did announce you as the winner?
So when they actually announced him first. They actually announced first, and they said, Judge 1 scores the fight 29-28 Kosei. And when they said that, I started thinking, I was like, okay, he had control against the cage. He had a little bit of ground control, but I definitely landed more damaging strikes. So when I realized I had landed more damaging strikes from the feet and the ground, I had a knockdown. I was in control for more than 30 seconds while landing strikes, scoring points. So then I felt way better about myself. And when they called my name, it wasn't really too much of a surprise, but I was a little anxious and nervous that it could go either way.
Well, I'm glad you had the confidence. I've seen fighters at your level or at the highest levels, when it's a split decision that really wasn't a split decision, it really wasn't called to be a split decision, because particularly the way you ended the fight, it's hard to think that was a split decision when he was almost stopped. But it's good that your brain kind of checked off the boxes and you sort of recapped the fight to yourself, to remind yourself, because as you mentioned earlier in this interview, you don't always remember every single thing that's happening in the fight. So you have to kind of check through the fight to figure out what happened and what was going on. So obviously it's cool that you got the win. I should point out the fact that you're 19 years old. I guess you'll be 20 this week. So happy early 20th birthday for you. So how exciting was it for this to almost be your 20th birthday gift to yourself? And talk about being so young, but now 2-0. And what do you want to go from here in your 20th year? What do you want to get accomplished when you're still 20?
Yeah, man. So, only being 19, I've done a lot of things already. I'm 2-0. And, I just started my own gym. It's called Prodigy MMA. So, by the time when I turn 20, my goal is, by next year, January 20th, 2024, to have the gym fully open for groups and training sessions and things like that. I want to be successful in the business aspect, and I want to be successful as a fighter as well. So I definitely want to be go pro. I want to go pro very, very soon. I feel like I'm a very dominant fighter, and I'm a to a lot of guys. So I think I just go back here. I will make a fight announcement. I'm gonna fight here again in June. So, back at Cagezilla in June, it'll be another big fight. I have 2-0 on the line, going out to get the W. I want to be the number one guy. I am ranked number 6 right now at bantamweight. So, yeah, there's a lot of big things about turning 20 and about the whole year that I want to do and get done.
Wow. Well, I'm glad I asked that question. Happy early birthday to you. And clearly, we could probably do an entire video just on the intricacies and the behind the scenes on you being a new gym owner. But let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, thanks. I love when fighters come on and do fight announcements. So thanks for announcing that you have a big fight coming up in June for Cagezilla. And obviously, your plans are to go pro. That's why I've mentioned the rule set. You're already fighting. The rule set of pro is really just a matter of getting to the point where you and your coaches think you're at the level to then compete against other pros. But clearly, the transition might be a little bit easier. But what led you to push into gym ownership? At all, it's a big task. You're obviously mature for your age. There's a lot to balance between training and running a business. So talk to me about that. Who's been sort of in your corner to help that process? And what's it like to now be a gym owner?
Yeah, so where I live at, there's not many MMA gyms. We got to travel out of the way a lot of times, and we don't always have free days where we can go to the gym and just train. We need to get off work and hopefully get a session in. So, being that everything was out of the way, I already had a gym that I go to for wrestling. So, I talked to the guy who owns the building, who is a former wrestling coach of mine. I said, hey, would you let us use this gym for our MMA? We will cover the insurance. We will have our team name and everything. He was like, yeah, definitely. So we have our own, so we are using my home wrestling gym for as an MMA gym as well. So we have certain days of the week where we go in, we take all of our equipment, set it up, we bring in our team of guys, and we just train all day. And I had to build a brand with it. I couldn't just say I'm a gym owner without trying to build a brand. So I'm building a brand. It is called Prodigy MMA. We were called out and represented it at last night's fight. It is, it feels great to be a gym owner. I have so many people in my corner. My guy, Zach Vincent, who I started my whole MMA career with, he's the co-owner. And, just my friends around me, my training partners, they really motivate me, keep me pushing. My girlfriend is also very wonderful. She keeps me on my toes, and I'll come and ask her. I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? And she always gives me the input and leads me on the right track for what needs to be done and what I need to do. So
Well, that really is impressive. And I'm glad you were able to thank the people closest to you, because it's a big process for anybody to be opening up a gym. What town and city? It sounds like you're not like fully open to the public. Like you said, that's the goal of this year. But what city and town are you in? And do you have a social media page for people to follow, whether it's on Facebook or whatever? Like, how can people kind of follow you to see about the gym? So where are you located, and when do you think you'll kind of be open to newcomers?
So yeah, definitely. So I live in Charlestown, West Virginia. Our gym is located in Kearneysville, West Virginia. It's only about 5 to 10 minutes from where I live. And you know, I've been talking with the team, everyone who I already trained with, and we had talked about bringing newcomers in, and we're working up contracts right now. So once all of our contracts are finalized, then we will start bringing new people in. And we want to make it affordable to where people can come in and train and not worry about being broke. Because as a young MMA fighter with not having much money, I couldn't go to these $200 a month gyms and get the greatest training and this and that. So when we open our gym, we're only going to charge $75 a month, and we bring in pro fighters. I work with Ant Wilson. Shout out to that guy. He really prepared me for my last fight. Great guy. Work with him. Then we have some national college wrestlers that we bring into the room. So we really are an asset to where I am. We have the best fighters around here training at my gym. You go back and look at the stats. We have 3 undefeated fighters training at my gym. Myself, Theo Yates, Paul Breeden Jr. All 3 of us are undefeated. Then you have Zach Vincent. He just won his fight last night by knockout. He's 1-1. You have my guy Andy Feligi. He just won his fight over at Rocky Combat. So my gym is stacked full of studs. No one can push us around and say, we're chumps. So if you wanna get good, and when you come into our gym, you dedicate yourself. Nothing's free. You gotta earn it.
Well, I think that's wonderful. Like you mentioned, your area in West Virginia doesn't have a lot of gyms. So I always think it's cool when people create like a smaller gym in an area where there's really not an opportunity. It's also cool that you're willing to put out what your price will be, $75 a month, and how that's down the road when you're at that point. You have to be back on the show and you can kind of do an official announcement. But I was curious because there's a lot of moving parts there. Obviously, I'll love to have you on before your big fight in June so we can talk specifics of that opponent. But for now, it's still an opportunity for you to celebrate being just a day removed from a big win and really stepping up in competition. So I appreciate you coming on the show. Congratulations not only to the win, but you're in your birthday week of turning 20 and you're a small business owner. So it's really very exciting to kind of catch you on the way up with all the good things that are happening in your life. So thanks so much for coming on the show. You've been listening to Travis the Mauler Long, and obviously contact him on social media to wish him not only congrats on the win, but also his birthday and small ownership. Is there anything you want to say as we wrap up, Travis?
You guys can find me on YouTube at the _Mauler 135. My Instagram is the same at the _Mauler 135, or follow me on Facebook at Travis Long, and then go over and follow Prodigy's page, Prodigy _MMA 23. Thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in, and I can't wait to have more announcements soon.
That's great, my man. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Take care.
Thank you. You as well.